If you're building a desktop hi-fi system today, and one of the most important components is the streamer. That's the device that connects to your system to services like Spotify, Tidal, your local music server, and everything else you can listen to. Well, the problem is that many streamers with balanced outputs and modern streaming features cost maybe $400 or more. So when Fosi released the S3 for just $259, well, it immediately caught my attention. You see, the S3 promises balanced outputs, HDMI eARC, built-in DAC, and support for modern streaming protocols in a compact desktop design. Now, I spent some time testing it with Tidal, Plex, and several other different headphone amplifiers, and I found a lot to like here. I really did. But there is also a few things you should understand before buying one. Hi, I'm Bruce, and this is Desktop Hi-Fi. This channel focuses on helping you build better sounding desktop audio systems. Here we focus on meaningful specifications and real world performance rather than, the marketing hype. If that sounds useful, well, then consider subscribing. Now, let's take a closer look at the Fosi S3. The Fosi S3 is a compact network music streamer, built-in DAC, preamp capability. The idea is simple, right? Connect the S3 to an amplifier or powered speakers and it becomes your digital hub of your system. And at $259, the S3 sits in a kind of an interesting position in the market. It competes with streamers, say the Weem Ultra, but brings a few features that make it, I think, especially appealing for desktop systems. On the rear panel, you'll find balanced XLR outputs, RCA outputs, HDMI, eARC for connecting a TV, Ethernet, Wi-Fi connectivity. It's all there. And that makes the S3 flexible enough to integrate with into both, say, desktop and living room setups. Inside the S3 is a AKM, AK4493 SEQ DAC chip. Now, this DAC is widely used in mid-range hi-fi equipment and is known for its clean and natural performance. The analog stage uses the OPA 1620 or 1612 op amps rather. It's a rather well-respected component in high-performance audio designs, and Fosi claims that the signal-to-noise ratio is around 120 dB, along with very low distortion. In everyday use, the S3 can be controlled either through a mobile app or the included remote control. Now, the remote allows you to, power the unit off and on, play or pause, skip tracks, and switch inputs or outputs directly from the listening position. The ability to change inputs and outputs from the remote is actually quite useful if you're integrating the S3 into multiple devices or, say a TV. Using Tidal Connect, the S3 delivered exactly what I would expect from a modern DAC-based streamer. The sound was clean, detailed, neutral, doesn't add any coloration. And the one album I used during the testing was called Slow Burn by Boney James. Now, this recording has a lot of subtle detail in the saxophone tone and the background instrumentation. Through the S3, the saxophone sounded natural, lifelike, with good texture and presence. Bass lines were tight and well controlled. Overall, the presentation felt balanced and easy to listen to, and when comparing amplifiers, the HIFIMAN Prelude headphone amplifier reveals slightly more detail and sounds just a bit warmer than the Fosi Audio ZH3 DAC headphone amplifier, which I also use for testing. And that difference appears to come from the amplifier rather than the streamer itself. In other words, the S3 behaved like a transparent digital source. Where things become more complicated is the software ecosystem. Now, during testing, I attempted to access my Plex music server using DLNA. Unfortunately, that just didn't work out. But the S3 detected the server, but the playback was, I could only get one track off of one album to play, and that was it. But after contacting Fosi, they confirmed that the S3 is not currently compatible with Plex. They also indicated support for additional services such as Rune is still in development, and there are going to be more music services on the way. So at the moment, the S3 works best with streaming methods like Tidal Connect, Spotify Connect, AirPlay, and Chromecast. So the hardware platform appears to be solid, but the streaming ecosystem, well, it's still kind of evolving. And that's pretty typical for any new streamer coming to the market. It takes a long time to get everything just perfect. So here's my final thoughts. Overall, the Fosi Audio S3 is an interesting product. The hardware and sound quality are impressive for a streamer that sells for like $259. And the compact design makes it a natural fit for desktop hi-fi. The biggest question going forward will be how the software platform evolves, right? If Fosi continues improving the firmware and expanding the supported streaming services, the S3 could become a very strong option in the affordable desktop streaming category. So, I want to thank you for watching, and if you found this review helpful, please consider subscribing and sharing the video with someone. Building a desktop hi-fi system is a hard thing to do, and well, we hope this channel is here to help. And as always, enjoy the music. Take care.